in a nutshell, you want to sleep well, eat well, and be happy. And that tends to contribute very importantly to a well-functioning immune system. The best thing you can do is have your mother eat a lot of probiotic foods while you're in the womb. She can eat sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurt. She can take a probiotic supplement. And then when you're born, you will have a much healthier immune system, assuming a natural delivery. Because that's when you pick up your first dose of bacteria, and it really does predicate your health for the rest of your life. If it's a C-section, it gets a little more complicated, but your mother can cover you in her vaginal secretions to replicate a natural birth. She can put probiotics on the nipple prior to feeding, or if you're having formula, you can have probiotics on the teat of the bottle. Either way, you need to get the probiotics into your body to make sure your immune system works as well as it should do. So many aspects of our immune system go back to the gut. Roughly 70%, arguably now, of your immune system is in your gut. I mentioned earlier sleeping well. A lot of work done at Surrey University on poor shift workers has shown that all shift workers' immune systems are compromised between 10 and 20% all the time. It takes 3 months to adjust from one sleep pattern to another, but normally police, fire, nurses, they're doing 2 weeks on one shift and a week on another. They're not working 3 months consistently on the same shift. The hormone they found is most effective here is melatonin, which you can buy in any American health food shop, any chemist, any airport. In this country, it's prescription only, but it really can make a big difference to your immune system if you are a shift worker. They found in a recent paper that shift workers working 10 years is the same as a normal person working 17 years. It's really brutally heavy on the body. Sleep is essential. Now, you've probably got the idea 8 hours is what most of us need, and that's about right. Some people can function and do well on 6, 1 or 2 on 4. The majority of the UK population do need 8. Teenagers may well need 10 to 12. It's not that they're indolent and don't want to get out of bed. Their bodies do need that much more sleep. And their immune systems will be compromised if they don't get that much. Also, their body clocks are different to adults. So we need to be a little nicer to them about sleeping in and going to bed a bit later, because naturally they'll go to bed around about midnight and not really want to get up before midday. School doesn't really work with that so well, but it does make a big difference to people's immune systems. Sleep deprivation is an awful thing. It's a great way to get ill very quickly. So do get the sleep you need. Find any number of ways of helping that. The advice about turning off screens a good hour before bed does help. One of the things that compromises our immune systems on a day-to-day basis is everyone's friend sugar. I shouldn't ask audience this early on, but what is the daily requirement for sugar in a human body? Yeah, did I hear 0? That's the answer I wanted. Thank you. Where the confusion arises is the human body will not run without glucose. Your brain stops, your body stops, but we've been doing it fairly well for the last 500,000 years from fruits, berries, grains, cereals. We do not need it in a processed form in any way, shape or form. If you consume 75 grams of glucose or 100 grams of any other sugar, you halve the activity of your immune system for the next 4 to 5 hours. So you've just eaten a bowl of your favorite ice cream, you meet a friend with a cold, you've doubled your chances of getting it, but I know what you will do. You will blame your friend for giving it to you. It's not your immune system that's been compromised, it's their cold, their fault. You can do something similar with exercise. It does have to be intense. I don't mean going for a brisk walk, but 40 to 50 minutes of intense exercise halves the immune system for the next 4 to 5 hours again. Similar numbers. So you've just been for a decent run, you've been to the pool, you've done an aerobics class, you played squash, anything like that. When you then leave the exercise and again you meet somebody who's carrying a virus, you've doubled your chances of getting it. Soviet athletes knew this decades ago. They would not meet the press post-training. They went to bed, had a good night's sleep, let their bodies recover, and would meet them the following day. The immune system does bounce back pretty quickly. So that way, rest, again, is crucial for your good health. I do get on the sugar front and the chocolate. All right, there are various things which boost our immune system. How much do I need for a bar of chocolate? I'm not going to stop eating the chocolate. You tell me which herb or vitamin I can take to offset the chocolate. That's the modern mentality. People don't want to change their diet or lifestyle. They just want to compensate for the things they're doing to damage it. We'll come to that bit in a bit. I say gut flora is one of the places you start. I can't stress this enough, and I'll be repeating it in the gut talk. A healthy gut means a healthy immune system. It really does. So get a taste for sauerkraut, kimchi, miso. Make your own pickled cabbage or carrots. You only need a small portion a day. And for those of you who don't like those foods, yogurt, kefir, a bowl a day, again, has a phenomenal effect on your immune system. And if you really don't like any of those, you can use a probiotic supplement. They do make a massive difference to your immune health. When your gut is in good shape, it will produce bactericides and hydrogen peroxide and directly help you fight infections. They will kill off bacteria and they will kill off viral organisms. So your immune system's much healthier when your gut's healthier. In terms of the foods, colleagues used to say, if you eat a rainbow a day, you won't go far wrong. All right, your immune system, you don't need to know the micronutrients in all of those foods. If it's appealing to your eyes, odds on it's good for you. We know people who tend to have, shall we say, larger waistlines, compromised immune systems. Food shades are yellow, grey and brown. Maybe the one bit of colour comes from ketchup, but which Ronnie Reagan had instituted as the third vegetable in American children's school meals. He insisted they had to have 3 veg, but ketchup could be one of them. So ideally we're eating pretty colours. Human beings are driven to like the colour purple, whether you know it or not. The darker the purple in cherries, blueberries, prunes, red cabbage, the more benefit there is for the human system. The compounds in these, they're called bioflavonoids, will protect your eyes, protect your vascular system, protect your cardio system. They look after you very well. So if you find yourself drinking a glass of beetroot juice or cherry juice, you may not know why, but it is very good for you and it tastes nice. Taste is very important. Now, being happy. Hi. There's a whole field of medicine, psycho-neuro-immunology. Bottom line, happy people have healthy immune systems. Depressed people have compromised immune systems. What happens is, if you're in good shape, you're generally happy with the world, and your body encounters a cold virus, it says, don't worry, I'll deal with that. If you're feeling down and you meet the same virus, the body says, you're going to get sick because I can't deal with that. How do we strengthen the immune system? All kinds of ways. Avoidance of sugar is a big one. Now, garlic doesn't suit everyone's constitution, but when I was studying in college, the old naturopathic cure for a cold was a clove of garlic an hour. It's very, very effective if you want to try it. People then say, oh, I can't go to work like that. Everyone's going to complain. And I make the point, well, you're happy sharing the virus with your work colleagues, so all of them are going to be ill next week. And I know employers make this difficult because they're pushing people to work when they shouldn't. When you get ill, you should go to bed and eat soup. All right? And let the body recover, then go back to work, rather than go into work because you're feeling brave and sharing the virus with everyone. There are garlic supplements that get around the whole garlic odor thing, and that much garlic can go through you fairly rapidly, but it does have a fantastic effect on your immune system. One of the nutrients, particularly during the winter, that really benefits our immune system, and we can't or struggle to get enough, is vitamin D. It's not just north of the border. It is most of the UK. Turns out it's most of Dubai, Yemen, Pakistan are all vitamin D deficient. It is not a nutrient you will achieve through food very easily. We're designed as humans to get it from sunlight. Sunlight hits our skin. Via cholesterol, we convert it into vitamin D. It's my argument for going bald. If there's any sunshine, I'm getting vitamin D. People who have enough vitamin D in their system are much less likely to get cancer of various forms. Their bone health is healthier, and they're less likely to get colds and flu during the winter. Winter sun in the UK doesn't work, I'm afraid. You have to go abroad if you want to get vitamin D. It is possible, it's hard work, to get vitamin D from mushrooms. And this was illustrated by one gentleman of Pakistani descent whose doctor said, you're low in vitamin D, I want to give you a prescription for vitamin D. He said, can I go and try and do it through diet? And they said, by all means, good luck with that one. Anyway, he went back 6 months later, and he'd been eating mushrooms that he'd grown on his window ledge in sunlight. Mushrooms convert sunlight to vitamin D the way humans do. So it is viable. If you've grown them in a shed, won't work. They have to be in sunlight. And people say, oh, vitamin D, I know it's great. And ironically, in Australia, the levels of fatal skin cancers have increased since they started the Slip, Slap, Slop campaign. The level of melanomas in general have been decreased significantly, but they are generally treatable with a laser or a knife. Why have they gone up? Because they aren't getting any vitamin D. And they occur underneath the breast, the scrotum, the soles of the feet, parts of the body that don't get sunlight. So vitamin D is very, very protective. If you are fair-skinned and burn easily, you can sit in the shade, and as long as there's a patio, a flat surface, or something for the sunlight to bounce off, and you've got some bare skin exposed with no sun cream, you'll get your vitamin D. So you don't directly need to be in the sun. You do need to be outside, though. I can't stress enough how much vitamin D will make to your overall health. Another nutrient we're lacking in this country is selenium. A lot of Northern Europe is low here, but the easy answer here is a handful of Brazil nuts. It really is that easy. And this time of year, I normally get asked, are chocolate Brazil nuts okay? Yes. It's not that much chocolate, not that much sugar, and you're still getting it. Selenium is not only good for lowering our cancer risk, heart disease, but it's antiviral again. So we've got another compound which is antiviral. And it doesn't need to be a big handful. If you're allergic to nuts, then there are other sources. Organically grown foods do have a higher selenium content. You get more in garlic and onion and artichokes, but you want the soil to be rich. Taking a supplement is an easy way to protect yourself, but you can do that one through food. Some compounds you can't. Say vitamin D, either sunlight or supplement, or a lot of mushrooms. And you may have heard that various forms of mushrooms are very good for your immune system. A lot of Japanese, some Chinese, and recently some Russian on maitake, reishi, shiitake mushrooms. Shiitake are fairly readily available, and they are fantastic for your immune system. You can grow your home on a log. These don't have to be in sunlight. They contain a compound called beta-glucans. And I should have said at the beginning, you may want pen and paper. Beta-glucans, beta-glucans. Why are they so important? Beta-glucans strengthen your innate immune system. This is the one you're born with. The innate immune system deals with 99% of infections you'll be exposed to. Kicks in within hours. The other part of the immune system, the learned immune system, you get by having chickenpox, mumps, measles, and if you believe in them, vaccines. The downside to that part of the immune system, it only deals with 1% of infections and might take a whole week before it does anything for you. So strengthen your innate immune system and you'll do a lot better. Back to good sleep, minimizing sugar, good food. Beta-glucans are achievable through mushrooms. Doesn't have to be the Japanese ones. British brownfield mushrooms are almost as good for the immune system. And you can get them as an isolate from yeast. Why are they so important? Well, they may be the answer to the lack of broad-spectrum antibiotics. They're antiviral, they're antibacterial. They will help you fight hay fever. They are given to children in Scandinavian countries in formula to give the child the same immune advantage as a breastfed child. It really does bring up the immune system. There was a lot in the British diet before we sanitized water. Up to that point, everyone, and I do mean everyone, drank beer. Because water was likely to give your child cholera. So you don't want to do that. So beer turns out to be rich in beta-glucans, hops are antibacterial, and it means it's safe to drink. And it's not beer that we would recognize, it's what they call small beer. It'd be about 1% alcohol. But everyone drank it. Once they sanitized water to stop people dying from cholera, people started drinking water. So the beta-glucans fell out of the diet. And we talk about the Mediterranean diet. People who lived in London up until about 1850 ate lots of fish, watercress, onions were very inexpensive. Sugar hadn't really entered the diet at that stage. It was beginning to come in. So their immune systems were much healthier from day one. and their diet was much, much healthier. Advent of slave trade and sugar, everything goes downhill because you can hide a multitude of sins with sugar. It's a great preservative, but it really does compromise the immune system. If you ever want to be put off sugar, it's out of print now, but I think Professor Yudkin, Pure, White and Deadly. And an American researcher who used to work for the FDA said they could not bring sugar in now because it is too damaging, too addictive, and it's just no way should it be a regular part of the diet. But don't let your teeth or your mouth tell you what's good for you, I'm afraid. We are hardwired, just like we are to like purple, your body is driven to fats. Because if your body fat drops too low, if you're female, you can't ovulate, so you can't procreate. It's going back way, way, way back. These days, that's not a problem. Too much fat is generally the problem. So it doesn't matter if you don't eat a chip, if you walk past a chip shop, you will salivate. It's just human nature. Fats are so important to human health. We all need more omega-3 for a healthy immune system. That's the other thing. So for the carnivores, you can eat fish. The vegetarians, we just need way more flax oil. And to cut back on the vegetable fats. That's the problem. We're eating way too many vegetable fats, whether from bread, biscuits, cakes, pastries, takeout. We cook with sunflower oil, all of these things. These all compromise our immune system once they're cooked. They're not bad as seeds. In fact, they're very good. But once you turn them into an oil and heat them up, trans fats, which everyone's trying to avoid, you make them all in your own kitchen. All right? You don't need the supermarkets to provide you. You can do it all at home. Other things to help your body. Now, some people are good at phase 1 detoxification, and some people are good at phase 2. People good at phase 1 can drink 10 pints of beer, go to sleep on coffee, get up in the morning, have a fried breakfast, and probably not have a day's illness in 20 years. Now, the other group who are good at phase 2 generally can tell you somebody's smoking 200 meters away. That perfume or aftershave makes me feel queasy. I know there's some wheat in that meal because I don't feel right. Their immune systems kick in straight away. They are the yellow canaries of the population. Now, you may think you want to be in the first group. However, this first group, much as they get rid of the minor contaminants, they concentrate the serious ones between 10 and 100 times. So if you want a really interesting disease that's probably fatal, that's the way to go. Because you concentrate everything, all the pollution you breathe in, you just build it up and build it up. So these are the people that say, don't have a day's illness and then keel over. Sometimes not something the doctor can help with. So the other group who seem overly sensitive just means your immune system kicks in straight away. And that's what you want. Chinese medicine would have us all be ill twice a year. You're inhaling a bunch of chemicals you don't want. You've got to get rid of them somewhere along the line. If you keep storing them, something's going to go wrong. In terms of helping them out of the body, anything from the cabbage family, cabbage, broccoli, Brussels, watercress. Watercress is the strongest. If you like your sea vegetables, and up here you can get them locally and organically grown. Otherwise, Japanese sea vegetables are excellent. They help you collate the poisons out of your system. If you're not a fan of those, you can use a spoon of wheatgrass, barley grass, chlorella, any of those things, and they will make a big difference. So we're back to eating well, hopefully. Now, being surrounded by people with healthier immune systems and happier people helps your immune system. If you're surrounded by a group of people who don't feel great, I'm afraid your immune system is going to go down with them. Now, that's not to say don't spend any time with somebody who's feeling down, just help them feel better. Supporting our liver function is something else we tend to work against, because alcohol's everyone's favorite, and it is a great way for enhancing the immune system at a modest level. And this is the trick. I'm afraid it's a single glass of wine, a single shot of spirits, or half a pint of beer. Everything after that is for pleasure. All right? It's not for your immune system. And you might have heard your grandparents say something has to taste bad to do you good. There's actually a lot of truth in this. When you eat watercress, rocket, ginger, turmeric, it's bitter. When you eat something bitter, your immune system kicks in. Just in case what you're eating is poisonous. A lot of foods contain alkaloids, which are bitter. They're made by the plants to protect them against insects and bugs. Now, so it is a low-grade poison, but it's not going to poison you, but it might keep the ants and other things that would eat it off. So when you taste that bitterness, your immune system says, might be poisonous, I better do something. So it gives your immune system a boost for the next few hours. So we're back to eating leafy greens and those sort of foods. There are all kinds of reasons they're good for you, but your immune system does get quite a boost. Another nutrient, sadly, even if you eat really, really well, you won't get, and humans definitely need more of, vitamin C. If you really want a healthy immune system, you are going to need... How much vitamin C do humans make? I'll take offers. Thank you. Exactly right. None. Zero. Somewhere along the line, we lost the ability. The theory is during the last ice age. It's a tough one to prove. Vitamin C will lower cholesterol. Now, I said earlier you need cholesterol converting sunlight to vitamin D. You also need it for your brain to function, for your mood to be all right. It's very essential to humans. This is why even on a vegan diet, you will make all the cholesterol you ever need. Your liver's going to make as much as it wants because you need it so badly. Unfortunately, vitamin C lowers cholesterol, and cholesterol would have kept us warmer during periods of extreme cold. So eventually, all the people manufacturing vitamin C were weeded out until no one was making any vitamin C. That's the theory. I mean, there are other theories, but that one's, for my mind, plausible. So vitamin C, yes, we can have fruit and veg. That's enough and then to prevent scurvy, which is the main condition you get by not having enough. Now, you can prevent scurvy with a very little amount of vitamin C. It's about 60 milligrams. If your GP was a vet, how much vitamin C would they have to make sure that an animal our size got in the diet for them not to be criminally irresponsible? It's 600 milligrams, so 10 times more. Interestingly, that level of vitamin C will lower your risk of bowel and bladder cancer and cataracts. If you live in California and you've got an orange tree at the bottom of the garden, that's easily achievable. Living in the UK, you've got to eat a lot of greens. And any offers on which food provides most of the vitamin C in the UK diet? Spinach from the left. Any other foods? Did I hear kale? Kale. No. Potatoes. Because that's the food everyone eats. Because sometimes I get kiwis, peppers, oranges. You have to look at the whole population. Just about everyone eats potatoes. That is the main reason the UK is not getting scurvy. We eat potatoes. Yeah, the other foods are much richer. Kale's a great source. Peppers are wonderful. All the fruits. But you're not going to get enough from the diet. That is why I would strongly recommend you take a supplement. People may want to dispute that, but an animal our size, when stressed, should be capable of making between 10 and 20 grams of vitamin C, which is a lot. So a few teaspoons of powder, 10 to 20 tablets. Why is that a number? They found if you take 6 to 8 grams of vitamin C, you halve the duration and dramatically reduce the severity of the common cold. Vitamin C will kill any virus in a test tube, including the HI. Operative words here, test tube. Reaching those saturation levels in a human body is hard work. But you won't go wrong by taking more. The worst that'll happen is you'll rush off to the loo with a loose bowel. But that's a side effect, it's not a toxicity. You can't actually overdose on vitamin C. It's one of the few things. It's virtually impossible to do. So taking extra vitamin C during the winter months does seem to help, again, for lowering things. I mentioned the vitamin D earlier. It was a study on pregnant women because they were trying to prevent rickets in the children. They found in a Boston hospital that roughly 30% of the mothers were low vitamin D, half the kids were born low vitamin D. They gave the women 4,000 units of vitamin D every day for 3 years. All the children were born nice and healthy with no bone issues. As a bonus, the mothers lowered the risk of colds and flu between 60 and 70%. Yeah.
Can I? I just wanted to tell a story about vitamin D. I have MS, and 4 years ago, I asked my consultant about it, and he laughed at me. This year, just a few weeks ago, he wrote to my GPs to say he should prescribe the 10,000 units I asked for. So they are learning, and it's very important.
Yeah. Vitamin D has a role in a number of things. There's preliminary research with MS as high as 25,000 units, and the same with rheumatoid arthritis, and they're getting great results. People say, isn't that likely to be toxic because of its potential absorption in the liver? A healthy Caucasian will make 30,000 units in 30 minutes of strong sunshine. You make about 1,000 units a minute. You won't in the winter, but you will in summer. So anything under that level is unlikely to be problematic. There is a condition called sarcoidosis where you don't use vitamin D, absolutely not. But I'm guessing most of you won't come across that too often. And also, if you go through the research, the vitamin D is incredibly effective in those who are deficient. Doesn't really make a lot of odds to those who have decent levels. It's a cheap test. Lean on your GP. Say, look, I'm living north of the border. How about giving me a vitamin D test? Some of them will prescribe it. Other than that, it is very inexpensive. But I say it's not one you're really going to achieve through the diet. You do need to supplement with that. Now, I mentioned the beta-glucans earlier. I'm coming back to them. How effective are they on our immune system? I work with a lot of athletes, and they found they lowered their risk of chest infections in marathon runners and triathletes by about 60% at a level of 2 to 3 milligrams per kilo of weight. So for an average adult, 70 kilo weight, one capsule a day of about 200 milligrams would cover your bases. The same level has also been shown to lower the risk of a hospital-acquired infection, again by 60% at 2 to 3 milligrams per kilo of weight. That seems to be the protective level, and you can titrate that down for children. It's safe through pregnancy. Pregnant women can take it. Infants can take it. There's no issue. And the other extreme end, it is a useful tool when somebody's undergoing chemo to keep them healthy through the chemo. American research found that a very aggressive chemotherapy, which was killing every third patient, when they gave them beta-glucans alongside the chemotherapy, they survived the treatment. So it really does make a big difference. You can get it from mushrooms or from yeast. American researchers have found it doesn't matter what the source material is, so long as it's a good quality extract. In my own clinic, I found the feedback on herpes, both genital and oral, is much better when people are taking beta-glucans. It's very powerful antiviral. It really does work very quickly. But for infection, you double the amount. So instead of 2 to 3 milligrams for prevention, you go to 4 to 6 milligrams for treatment. And if you're unfortunate enough to have to undergo chemo, it's 10 to 12 milligrams per kilo of weight. And that should keep you a lot healthier. Now, on the mood side of things, laughing turns out to have a phenomenal effect on our immune system. It really does. And generally, meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, whichever your chosen area is, has phenomenal positive effects on the immune system. So you're eating well, trying to cut out the other bits that don't like your immune system so much. And if you do have a food sensitivity, whether it's oranges, tomatoes, eggs, milk, wheat, cut it out of your diet. Because your immune system will be compromised while it's trying to deal with that. You will get more inflammatory problems. Don't just randomly do it. You can find out for yourself just by excluding any food for 2 weeks, have it on its own for breakfast, and see what your pulse rate does. If it goes up more than 10 beats from your resting level, your body's not a big fan. You can't do that with coffee, chocolate, because they'll raise your pulse anyway. But all the other foods you want to try out for yourself, just total exclusion for 2 weeks, and then reintroduce at the end of 2 to 4 weeks. But it must be the first food of the day, and you're not getting up and doing anything else. Because you start moving about, that'll raise your pulse anyway. But you can then identify for yourselves free which foods don't like you. And it does help. On that category, tomatoes turn out to be wonderful for our heart, our cervix, and our prostate, depending which gender you are. But they're not so great for some people with immune disorders, particularly they're not great for a lot of arthritics, for instance. So don't cut them out randomly, find out whether they do or don't agree with you. And on the vitamin C rich foods, I had one friend, if they ate kiwi fruit, they passed blood. It was that aggressive on their system. So foods may be healthy for one individual, not necessarily for another. So it's important you work out which is good for you. Do try and take time to eat food properly. Just boring stuff like weight maintenance, all right? They found people who doubled their eating time, lost weight, quadrupled it, lost more weight. Didn't change the number of calories or anything else. So, and if you want to overload your digestion, have too much food on the same plate, you can produce an immune response even if there's none of the foods on that plate to which your body is normally sensitive, just by overloading the digestion. So eat modest amounts of food and at a good pace. The slower, the better. So if you've got macrobiotic friends or people who say you have to chew everything 20 to 100 times, they're not far wrong. It's been argued that's why teenagers like burgers, bite, swallow, bite, swallow. Let's get back to texting, all right? But no time for food. And stomach's got no teeth. Give it a helping hand, all right? Chew your foods thoroughly. Any questions on anything? I'm aware I rattle through things. Yeah.
What you were saying about exercise lowering your immune system, it just seems really, I kind of want to know what your references are for that, because surely exercise is generally good for you.
Okay. The question is, exercise compromising the immune system? Because exercise obviously is good for you in so many ways, apart from anything else, raises mood, which thereby, it's a temporary weakening. And it does need to be intense exercise in the first place. So you need to be relatively fit to be able to do it. So yeah, so if you can play squash, badminton, a team sport at a decent level, or can survive a 60-minute spin class, then you're fit enough to compromise the immune system. I say going for a brisk walk is never going to do it. That's only going to have positive, and it is only for 4 to 5 hours. It'll bounce back. So a good night's sleep, the body will recover. But I think it was the 1986 Los Angeles Olympics, 30% of the American would-be trialists didn't make it to the trials due to getting ill, because they were stepping up the training in advance of the Olympics, and that was having a negative effect. So it's working with the body. So back to the beta-glucans, they gave marathon runners, beta-glucans, and it meant the immune systems weren't compromised. The guys who do the 100 miles through the desert, 90% get a chest infection when they finish. It's a massive proportion. Work at Cardiff University, back to my favorite purple things, they found runners and triathletes given a portion of berries or things post-run, there was less oxidative stress, and even those with exercise-induced asthma were better. So again, something purple every day, and particularly after exercise. That'll help your immune system recover much faster. But I can't stress enough, get enough sleep after exercise. Really does help. For those of you not big fans of exercise, but want to raise your mood, chew on a chili. You can either do a 5-mile run, an hour's weights, a dance class, or you can chew on a Scotch bonnet or a bird's eye chili, and within 20 minutes, when your mouth has finished swearing at you, your endorphin levels will be really nice and high. Pain levels go down, your immune system goes up, it's great. It's an old naturopathic cure for everything. Chew on a chili. Doesn't suit everyone's constitution, but it is a shortcut if you want to lift your mood and make you feel less pain. Pineapple's another one, just recovery from sport. Bromelain turns out to be useful for fighting chest colds as well. Fresh pineapple has a very decent anti-inflammatory effect. I mean, really strong. They trialed it on American football players and boxers. It halved their bruising. So it really was significant. And a food that's seemingly good for just about everything, if it's the right plant species, is turmeric or curcuma longa. It lowers your cancer risk, it lowers your cholesterol, improves your heart function, improves circulation. It's decent antiviral, and it's also good for inflammation. But unfortunately, after some work done a few years ago, a lot of what we buy is bright yellow, but is a different botanical. So it looks like it, might even smell a bit like it, but it doesn't actually do anything. So if you are going to buy turmeric in large quantities, make sure it's organic. And that way you should get around those issues. Sugar alternatives, if we're saying sugar's bad for us, the best research has probably been done on xylitol. If you can grow your own stevia plant, that's the best thing. You need very little. In my own clinic, I do see quite a few people reacting to stevia. It's possibly because it's been so processed. And the other one pet hates, aspartame. And I know the research goes backwards and forwards on this, but something showed earlier this year, and the poor American researcher pretty much gave up trying to explain to journalists. But anyway, what he found was aspartame or zero-calorie drinks. We've known for 20 years they cause the same weight gain. He found they cause a blood sugar spike, the same as the full sugar ones. So you're just as likely to get diabetes. They also disrupt gut flora. Now, right at the beginning, I said, if you want to have a healthy immune system, you've got to have a healthy gut. So if you're drinking something which is upsetting your gut flora, that's not going to help. So there's no good reasons. The journalist then said, should we be drinking the full sugar stuff? And he said, that's not what I said. Those brown fizzy beverages are great as a pesticide. That's about it. They're also good for clearing blood off the motorway. Though they used them in India because they found if they sprayed plants with them, the insects that came and ate because they liked the sugar, got rid of the ones that were eating the plants. It worked very well. And it's much cheaper than the pesticide. And if you are going to have a vaccine or a child is going to be vaccinated, you need to give them a probiotic at the same time. All vaccines will disrupt your gut flora. Not just the MMR, all vaccines. So for a while, that child is going to be susceptible to other infections. So give them a probiotic at the same time, and you should offset the negatives. Some rather depressing work from, I think it was the 60s in Australia. They were vaccinating Aboriginal children, and quite a lot were dying. They were able to prevent the deaths when they gave them vitamin C prior to the vaccine. So vaccines will compromise your immune system for a variable length of time. So probiotics and vitamin C seem to offset that negative. Autoimmune disorders in general, which go back to a compromised immune system, will all benefit from the addition of probiotics, either from yogurt, dairy or non-dairy, kefir, dairy, non-dairy, or a probiotic supplement. Rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, asthma, eczema will all improve when you improve gut flora. So it really is important. If you want to strengthen that side of the body, you won't go wrong. And if you want to live longer, seemingly all the long-lived cultures in the world have a fermented food in their diet. The Okinawan is one of those sort of, supposedly, lots of curries, lots of fruit and veg, but the big cultural difference, they get up from the table wanting more, and most of them, male or female, will do some kind of internal martial art, or martial art. So that's, and the curries, the reason they're important, is back to the turmeric. And to activate the turmeric, you need a bit of black pepper. That will significantly, turmeric on its own doesn't work so well, but with some cancer research in Japan showed until they added a black pepper extract, it really didn't work at all. Add the black pepper, which is called piperine, then it's far, far more effective. Any questions on anything else? Yeah.
Going on about all the foods that help to boost the immune system, what other foods would be detrimental to the immune system?
Question is, right, talked a lot about the positives. What about the negative foods and the potential negative impact? I did mention food sensitivities, and there is an increasing proportion of the population will be wheat or gluten sensitive, but any food which causes inflammation in your system will compromise your immune system. Some people it will be tomatoes, others will be eggs, some people it will be animal proteins and fats. So it is important. 40% of the UK diet is derived from wheat-based foods. It's a massive proportion. We did not eat that sort of level a long time ago. Ireland has the highest level of celiacs in Europe, seemingly because they didn't have the Romans. Because every other country was introduced to wheat 2,000 years ago. So it's been a big part of the diet. But it's been so altered and concentrated now, it's a long way. And on the broader point, we should all eat different foods every day. It's so easy. I mean, we fly out of the house with a piece of toast because we're in a hurry. Or we're healthy, so we always have porridge and blueberries, which is still preferable. Worse still, you don't have anything. That's a great way to get diabetes, by the way. Skipping breakfast elevates your risk of type 2 diabetes between 10 and 20%. So try having something in the morning, even if it's just a piece of fruit. Gradually work up from there. It does make a big difference. Any food, the salicylate sometimes can be an issue for people getting migraine, eczema. If you feel good on what you eat, that's a good barometer that it's probably beneficial. If you're feeling tired, sluggish, lethargic, and you do get ill at intervals, it's a good indication something you're consuming is probably not the best thing for you. If you are gluten/wheat sensitive, there's a 50-50 chance you will be dairy sensitive. Not because they're related foods, just because they're both complicated proteins the body struggles to digest. Our Stone Age ancestors ate 120 different foods. If you can count past 20, you're very unusual. Seriously. We've gone away from eating, and the supermarkets and food shops might carry a wider range of foods, but we've actually narrowed our choices. You can go into any supermarket and there'll be a whole aisle dedicated to reshaped potato. We call them crisps. And it might be 20 brands, but it's one food. And on that subject, the vegetable fats. Heated vegetable fats will deplete B6, magnesium, zinc, B3, all nutrients which we need for a healthy immune system. If you're an ardent tea drinker, there are pluses. Regular tea intake has been shown to lower the risk of throat cancer in the UK. If your iron status is compromised, tea is worse than coffee. Coffee knocks out about 60% of your iron, tea 70 to 80%, and this includes green tea. It's the tannins, not the caffeine. Now, if your iron levels are fine, keep drinking the tea. Don't stop. But if you're a young woman, you get heavy periods, you're a menopausal woman, or you're a guy with anemia or pernicious anemia or just compromised iron stores, your immune system will be compromised. If you're low in zinc, you will have a compromised immune system. There's plenty of zinc in the diet. If you eat lots of seeds and nuts, very rich in zinc. Male athletes stereotypically will be lower in zinc because exercise depletes zinc, as does sexual activity, which further depletes zinc. Young men and young boys are often much lower in zinc than young women. I said earlier, if you want a healthy immune system, more omega-3, but really back off on the vegetable fats. Have them in salad dressing by all means, but don't cook with them because they will deplete the nutrients you need to get the omega-3 into the body. So you're going to have a spoon of flax oil on your salad dressing, but you've had bread, oat cakes, biscuits, you maybe had a meal made with vegetable fats. By the time you get round to your flax oil, you haven't got the nutrients to get it into the body. And you can't make a lot of the hormones you need to keep yourself well. Your thyroid hormones won't work as well. Your appetite hormones won't work as well. They work the wrong way. So vegetable fats, in the way we consume them, are very detrimental to human health. Quick answer is it liquid? Then, and it's been turned into a solid, that's probably not a great idea. I know you can get them made with non-saturated fats and others, but yeah, liquids, but so olive oil, coconut oil are generally preferable. And for the non-vegans, butter is a preferable alternative to a lot of the spreads. Does that address that one? Yeah. Yeah, the grain thing is getting bigger because we are over-consuming. So people really, and I see athletes slow down their recovery when they continue consuming. My favorite are the guys, because I train cage fighters, and they love their whey protein. But a lot of them, you have to explain to them, it's not so good for you. Some it's fine, but others it doesn't. And it compromises their weight, but it often compromises their immune system. So it's not just the hard training. A food on top of it can be weakening it. Any questions? I'm conscious, yeah.
Yeah, what's your opinion on prebiotics against probiotics? Okay.
Question is pre and probiotics. I've mentioned fermented foods, which contain both. You can eat bananas, you can eat artichokes, chicory. All of these will contain prebiotics and something called FOS, fructooligosaccharides. And then you can have your probiotics. You need both, it's a quick answer. Most of the therapeutic research is around the probiotics. Plantarum turns out to be the most aggressive against viral and bacterial things. It really doesn't like MRSA, for instance. Acidophilus is the best for recovering your hair and dealing with thrush. Rhamnosus is the best for cystitis. So a mixture of strains tends to be the thing. Try and have some fermented food every day. I normally get asked, does that include beer? Yeah, a small amount. Or wine if you don't like that. As I say, it's half a pint of beer, 1 glass of wine. That's the good stuff. After that, not so good. But yeah, I do use probiotic supplements with most people come and see me to get them kick-started. And then if I can introduce the foods that provide them so they can start learning themselves. There are a couple of great websites dedicated to producing fermented foods in the home. And one area where it's been observational but phenomenal improvement, autistic children. Really, really has helped. So if you can get the child, or if they've got color separation issues, just make it with a single food. So just make pickled carrot or pickled beetroot, so you haven't got 2 colors in one. That helps. And if they've been involved in the process, often they'll eat the food. If you've not tried kimchi, which is the Korean national dish, do. It's very rich in garlic and chili and everything else, but yeah, it's a nice, easy food. But sauerkraut from Germany and Poland, and there's a couple of UK companies now doing a lot of organic fermented foods. Do try and have a little bit. It doesn't need a spoon. That's all you need. And that will have a phenomenal effect. The probiotics help you recover from exercise, really, really strengthen your immune system. And because the UK does lead Europe in constipation. We spend more money on laxatives than any other nation, yet we have the worst constipation. Our gut flora is generally horrible. I had one woman accuse me of giving her IBS because I'd taken her from 1 bowel movement a week to 3 a day, which is, by the way, normal. That's what you're aiming for. You should have a bowel movement after each meal. Because I modify you are what you eat to you are what you absorb and fail to eliminate. If you don't absorb nutrients, you're going to get ill. If you don't eliminate toxins, you're going to get ill. And I was speaking to a herbalist the other day. One of the things she does after her consult, she gives people a pound stool from Poundland and tells them when they're having a bowel movement, stick their feet on it to bring their thighs up to support the abdominal wall. It's a little thing and it makes a big difference. So yeah, eating well and eliminating what you don't need is very, very important. And you won't digest things adequately if your gut flora is not in good shape. You won't fight infections. You won't be able to synthesize biotin. And if any one of you, I know I've got none, but any one of you worried about your hair quality, you need biotin. You can find it in fancy shampoos. Antibiotics stop you making it. But ideally, our gut will make it for you. So a healthy gut will synthesize your own biotin, which also has a role in your immune system. We're going back to the gut again. So hopefully, really, really, I cannot stress enough. And in about 10 minutes, I'm going to be talking about a lot more about the digestive side on the other side of the hall. But yeah, healthy. So to reiterate, because I'm conscious of time now, sleep well, eat well, try and be happy, or surround yourself with generally cheerful people. Does make a big. Minimize sugar. You don't need any. But do eat lots of pretty coloured fruits and vegetables. That will help your immune system. Train hard by all means. I mean, you know, marathon runners, triathletes, all the things are generally healthier than the normal population. But be aware, exercise does compromise the immune system, albeit for a few hours, as does sugar. And I really can't stress sleep. If you want to be healthy, you need to sleep well. So if initially you need some way of getting yourself off to sleep, and you can compromise your sleep, because people say, oh, I don't have a cup of coffee after 5 or 6. Australian research has shown that a tea or coffee at 11 o'clock in the morning, if you're caffeine sensitive, and this is the key, can disrupt your sleep. If you're not caffeine sensitive, for instance, my son can sleep on espresso, my mother goes to sleep on coffee, but yeah, it varies. And on terms of the negatives, if you are going to buy decaf, make sure it's organic. The chemical they take the caffeine out with is far worse and way more carcinogenic than the caffeine. Caffeine's not as bad as it's often painted. It's only if you're caffeine sensitive. Any other questions? Yeah.
When you're talking about fermented foods,
Yeah.
if you're talking about like sauerkraut, if it's pasteurised,
Yeah.
does that kill all of it?
Not all of it. It's a good point, though. Yeah, the question, that very reasonably, ideally, you want your fermented foods unpasteurized. The pasteurization will kill off some of the bacteria, definitely. Oh, and another example of this was an American researcher got his son to eat McDonald's for 2 weeks, but he measured his bacterial count before and after. He lost 1,000 species of bacteria in 2 weeks. Now, they're all designed to help us. So I'll spend a lot more time on bacteria in a minute. But yeah, if you want a healthy immune system, eat a varied diet, and that will vary your own bacteria. It has to by default. So ideally not pasteurized, but you will still get some benefits even if it has been. But you will lose a lot of bacteria, there's no question. Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
Is it possible to meet a mother and give a child birth which will be healthy and doesn't need a vaccination while you being a healthy mother to go through the life not need to be vaccinated? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know. Yeah, okay. All right. I've just been asked a vaccine question. Ethically, this is difficult. Selfishly, I tend not to. My children got very few. I mean, compromise. Children can be healthy without vaccines. In the modern Western world, we're not at high risk from a lot of life-threatening diseases. Measles, a specific one, which is still possibly fatal, but interestingly, the couple of deaths we've had in the UK were with people who've been vaccinated. They've known since the 1890s to prevent measles deaths, use vitamin A. Vitamin A will stop a child dying from measles. In Africa, they gave children either 100,000 units of vitamin A twice a year or 200,000 once a year. None of the children died from measles. And more importantly, none of them had liver problems, because even though a massive dose of vitamin A. So if you want to take the option of not vaccinating, just make sure the child's immune system is in great shape, and with a lot of probiotics to make sure they're immune, and beta-glucans will strengthen that child's immune system significantly. And the real head start is just a natural birth, and then breastfeeding the child, if practical. If they're not going to be breastfed, you can add beta-glucans into the diet quite safely. Children respond very well to them. I am conscious now, I meant to move on. So one more question. Other than that, I will thank you for your time and go on to the next talk.